The Alliance starship Horizon soared through the vast emptiness of space, its massive engines humming with power as it patrolled the border of human territory. The ship carried over 300 crew members, most of them human with a small number of alien allies from various coalition species. Among them was Olivia Bennett, a brilliant engineer with short brown hair and keen green eyes, who had earned her place through sheer talent and determination. Olivia worked in the engine room, her hands constantly busy with repairs and improvements to the ship's complex systems. She loved the rhythmic pulse of the warp core and the challenge of keeping the aging vessel running at peak efficiency. Her small frame allowed her to access tight spaces that other engineers struggled to reach, making her invaluable during emergency repairs. The Horizon had been on routine patrol when the alert came through. Coalition intelligence had detected unusual activity from the Draxian Empire, a hostile alien race known for their territorial aggression and technological superiority. Captain Harris ordered an immediate course change, sending the ship toward the disputed Centauri sector, where several human colonies existed in vulnerable positions. Olivia felt the ship lurch as it entered warp speed, the familiar vibration through the deck plates telling her they were pushing the engines harder than usual. She finished her maintenance tasks quickly and headed to her quarters for some much-needed rest before what would likely be a challenging mission. When she arrived at her cabin door, she found a security officer waiting with a tall, slender alien female. The alien had luminescent purple skin covered with subtle patterns that seemed to shift, like oil on water. Her eyes were large and entirely black without visible pupils, giving her an unsettling appearance despite her delicate features. Bennett, the security officer, said, "This is Naira, ambassador from the Etheri Council. She will be sharing your quarters due to the emergency reassignment of spaces for the diplomatic mission." Olivia stared in surprise. The Etheri were a mysterious species rarely seen in human space. Their advanced technology and psionic abilities made them valuable allies, but their aloof nature and strange customs kept most humans at a distance. "Is this really necessary?" she asked, unable to hide her discomfort. "The ship has guest quarters for diplomats. Those quarters have been allocated to the military delegation," the officer explained. "The captain apologizes for the inconvenience, but all crew members are doubling up during this mission." Olivia reluctantly nodded and opened her door. The cabin was small, designed for a single occupant with just enough room for a bed, a small desk, and minimal personal belongings. How would she share this tiny space with an alien she knew nothing about? "I understand your discomfort." Naira said, her voice melodic with an echoing quality that seemed to resonate in Olivia's mind. "Rather than her ears, I assure you I require minimal accommodations." Olivia watched as the alien glided into the room carrying only a small metallic container. She moved with fluid grace, each step seeming to barely touch the floor. The security officer departed, leaving the two females alone in awkward silence. "I work beta shift," Olivia explained, trying to sound professional. "We should have opposite schedules most of the time." Naira tilted her head in acknowledgement. "I require only brief meditation, periods rather than sleep in your understanding of the term. This should minimize our inconvenience to each other over the next few days." Olivia maintained a polite distance from her alien roommate. They exchanged few words beyond necessary courtesies. Olivia noticed that Naira spent hours standing near the small viewport gazing at the stars, her body occasionally emitting a soft purple glow. The engineer found the sight both beautiful and unsettling. The relative peace was broken when the ship suddenly dropped out of warp, throwing Olivia from her bed in the middle of her sleep cycle. The emergency klaxons blared throughout the vessel, and the captain's voice came over the comm system. "All hands to battle stations. Draxian warships detected. On intercept course." "This is not a drill." Olivia scrambled to pull on her uniform. Naira, who had been meditating in the corner, opened her eyes, which now glowed with intense light. "The Draxians seek more than conquest," she said, her voice suddenly deeper and resonating with authority. "They hunt for the stellar." Key. Olivia paused momentarily. "What key? What are you talking about? There is no time to explain." Naira replied, moving toward the door. "You must reach engineering. Your skills will be needed soon." Before Olivia could question her further, The ship rocked violently as the first enemy weapons found their mark. She staggered into the corridor, joining the stream of crew members rushing to their stations. The lighting switched to red emergency mode as power fluctuated throughout the vessel. When Olivia reached engineering, the chief was already barking orders, dividing the team into emergency response groups. "Olivia, I need you on the coolant systems," the chief shouted. "We took a hit near the auxiliary. Controls and temperatures are rising in the reactor core." Olivia raced to her station, hands flying over the controls as she diverted backup coolant to the affected areas. The ship continued to shake as the battle raged outside. Damage reports flooded. The engineering communications channel overloading the team with critical failures requiring immediate attention. A massive explosion rocked the ship, throwing several engineers to the floor. A support beam collapsed, crushing equipment and narrowly missing the chief engineer. Fire erupted from a ruptured conduit, sending toxic smoke billowing through the compartment, emergency force fields failing. The computer announced in its calm voice, "Reactor containment at 60% and declining." Olivia realized with horror that they were facing a catastrophic breach. If the reactor containment failed, the entire ship would be destroyed. She grabbed an emergency repair kit and headed toward the manual override junction, fighting against the ship's violent movements as the battle continued. As she reached the access tunnel, Olivia was surprised to find Naira waiting there, the alien skin glowing brighter than before. "Your path leads to death," Naira stated, her voice eerily calm amid the chaos. "I will assist you." Before Olivia could protest, Naira placed a cool hand on her forehead. A strange sensation washed over her mind, images and knowledge flooding her consciousness. She suddenly understood exactly what needed to be done to stabilize the reactor, a solution she would never have discovered on her own. Together they entered the access tunnel as the ship continued to shudder under enemy fire. The fate of everyone aboard now rested in their hands. The access tunnel was narrow and filled with smoke. Olivia crawled forward with Naira close behind. The alien seemed unaffected by the toxic fumes that made Olivia cough and her eyes water. The ship rocked again as another blast hit somewhere above, them causing dust and sparks to rain down from the ceiling panels. "We need to reach the manual override," Olivia shouted over the blaring alarms. "If we can reroute power through the secondary systems, we might stabilize the reactor long enough for the automatic safeguards to engage." Naira moved with surprising agility in the confined space, her slender form easily navigating obstacles that Olivia had to squeeze past. The alien paused suddenly, her head tilting as if listening to something beyond human perception. "3 junctions ahead, there is a rupture in the coolant line," she said. "The path is blocked." "How could you possibly know that?" Olivia asked, bewildered. "I sense the energy flows of this vessel," Naira replied. "The disruption creates a distinct pattern." Olivia wanted to dismiss the claim as impossible, but something in Naira's confident tone made her hesitate. The engineer pulled up the ship schematics on her portable device. "If there's a rupture there, we can take the maintenance shaft at the next junction," she said. "It will be tight, but it should get us around the damage." They changed course following Olivia's directions. The maintenance shaft was even narrower than the access tunnel, forcing them to crawl on their stomachs. The metal was hot against Olivia's palms, a worrying sign of the overheating systems throughout the ship. Above them, the sounds of battle continued, weapons fire and explosions indicating the horizon was still engaged with the Draxian vessels. As they approached the reactor control junction, Olivia could feel the dangerous heat radiating through the bulkheads. The temperature was well beyond safe levels for the sensitive equipment that regulated the ship's power core. Her skin was slick with sweat, and each breath felt like drawing fire into her lungs. "I need to manually reset the containment field generators," Olivia explained as they reached the small chamber housing the control systems. "But the heat in there might be too intense for me to stay long." "Enough, I will accompany you," Naira said. "My species can tolerate higher temperatures than humans." Together they entered the chamber. The heat hit Olivia like a physical force, making her gasp. The displays on the control panel were flashing with critical warnings showing the reactor containment at less than 40%, and falling rapidly. Olivia moved to the main console, her fingers flying across the controls. Despite the pain from touching the hot surfaces, she needed to redirect power to the containment field generators while simultaneously reducing the reactor output to manageable levels. a delicate balance that could easily result in either a reactor shutdown leaving them defenseless or a catastrophic overload. Nara stood beside her, the alien's purple skin now glowing intensely enough to cast shadows in the dim emergency lighting. Without warning, she placed her hands on the console beside Olivia's. The panel seemed to respond to her touch lights, stabilizing and readings, shifting toward safer levels. "What are you doing?" Olivia asked. Not pausing in her own work, providing energy stability, she replied. "I can channel some of the excess power through my biological systems." Olivia didn't understand how that was possible, but she could see the results on the monitors. The containment field was strengthening. The ship still shuddered from enemy attacks, but the immediate danger of a core breach was diminishing. A new alarm sounded, drawing Olivia's attention to a different display. "Intruder alert. Deck 7, she read aloud. "The Draxians have boarded the ship. We must complete our task here first," Naira said. Her voice sounded strained, and Olivia noticed that the alien's normally smooth skin now showed lines of tension. The glow had intensified to an almost painful brightness. Olivia continued the delicate work of stabilizing the reactor systems. She rerouted emergency power, initiated the backup coolant protocols, and manually reset the safety interlocks. The temperature in the chamber slowly began to decrease as the cooling systems came back online. After several tense minutes, the computer announced, "Reactor containment restored to safe parameters." Olivia exhaled in relief, turning to thank Naira, but the words died. On her lips, the alien was leaning heavily against the console, her luminescence flickering erratically. Purple fluid that Olivia assumed was blood trickled from Naira's nose and ears. "You need medical attention," Olivia said, reaching out to support the weakened alien. "There is no time," Naira replied, her voice barely audible. "The Draxians seek me." "Not your ship. I must reach the secure communications array." Olivia felt confusion and a surge of anger. "Why would they be after you? What aren't you telling me? The stellar key is not an object, but knowledge," Naira explained as Olivia helped her from the chamber. "My people discovered the coordinates to an ancient technology vault, a weapon of immense power. The Draxians learned of this and have hunted our diplomatic vessels for months." "Why are you on our ship then?" Olivia demanded as they made their way through the now cooling access tunnels. "Your captain agreed to provide transport in exchange for technology sharing," she replied. "The arrangement was made at the highest levels of your government. The fewer who knew, the safer the mission." Olivia felt a mixture of emotions: betrayal at being kept in the dark, anger at being endangered without consent, but also growing respect for the alien who had risked her life to save the ship. When they emerged from the access tunnel, the corridors were eerily empty. Most crew members were either at battle stations or had evacuated to safer sections of the ship. "They need to reach the bridge," Olivia decided. The captain needed to know what they were really fighting for. A thunderous explosion rocked the ship, throwing both females against the wall. "Warning, hull breach in sections 20 through 25, the computer announced. "Emergency force fields activated." "That section is between us and the bridge," Olivia realized. "We need another route." Naira straightened with visible effort, her glow dimming to a faint shimmer. "I must reach communications," she insisted. "My people must be warned that the Draxians have found me." Olivia considered their options. If the Draxians were specifically hunting for Naira, then the alien ambassador was the key to ending this attack. She made a quick decision. "The auxiliary communications array in engineering," she said. "It has enough power to send an encrypted subspace message. It won't be as secure as the main array, but it's our best option." They changed direction, heading back toward engineering. The sounds of fighting grew louder. Phaser fire and the distinctive high-pitched whine of Draxian energy weapons echoing through the corridors. They ducked into a maintenance crawlway as a group of security officers ran past, weapons drawn, as they approached engineering. Olivia heard unfamiliar voices, speaking in harsh, guttural tones. Draxian boarding parties had reached the engine room. She pulled Naira into a side passage, pressing a finger to her lips in the universal signal for silence. The Draxians were tall, reptilian humanoids with scaled skin and elaborate armor. Their elongated heads featured multiple eye ridges, giving them enhanced peripheral vision, a significant advantage in combat. 4 of them were systematically searching the engineering section while 2 more guarded the main entrance. "We need a distraction," Olivia whispered, her mind racing. She spotted a panel giving access to the environmental controls for this section. "If I can trigger the fire suppression system, it might give us a few seconds," Olivia said quietly. She carefully removed the panel and began rerouting connections, bypassing the safety protocols that prevented accidental activation. Naira watched silently, her dark eyes reflecting the emergency lighting. After a moment, she placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Wait," she whispered, "I have a better option." Before Olivia could respond, Naira closed her eyes and her body began to pulse with renewed energy. The purple glow spread from her skin, forming tendrils that seemed to reach out into the air around them. Olivia felt a strange sensation like static electricity raising the hair on her arms. Suddenly, alarms began blaring in a different section of the ship. The Draxian soldiers turned their attention to the sound. Several of them moving to investigate. Naira slumped against the wall, her energy apparently depleted by whatever she had done. "What did you do?" Olivia asked. "Helping the alien stay upright. Psionic projection," she replied weakly. "Created the impression of my presence elsewhere. They will follow the false trail." With only 2 Draxian guards remaining at the entrance, Olivia felt their chances had improved. She guided Naira toward the auxiliary communications console, keeping to the shadows as much as possible. Every few steps the alien seemed to grow, weaker, her normally graceful movements now halting and uncoordinated. When they reached the console, Naira practically collapsed against it. Her fingers trembled as she input a complex sequence of commands, the screen illuminated with symbols Olivia had never seen before. Olivia kept watch for the Draxian guards while Naira worked. The alien ambassador was clearly struggling, each movement seeming to cause her pain, but she continued with determined focus. "Transmission complete," Naira finally whispered. "My people will intercept the Draxians." As if on cue, the ship rocked with a new series of explosions. But these felt different, somehow more distant. Olivia checked the tactical display and saw 3 new ships had appeared on sensors. Their configuration, unlike anything in the Alliance database. Aetheri vessels. Naira said, a smile briefly crossing her features. Before she could say more, her eyes rolled back and she collapsed to the floor unconscious. Olivia dropped to her knees beside the fallen alien ambassador. Her engineering training included basic first aid, but she had no idea how to help a non-human species, especially one as mysterious as the Aetheri. Naira's purple skin had faded to a dull lavender color and the luminescent patterns had stopped moving entirely. "Help," she called into her communicator. "I need medical assistance in engineering auxiliary control." Aetheri ambassador down. She received only static in response. Communications were still disrupted from the battle. Olivia checked the tactical display again and saw the Aetheri vessels engaging the Draxian ships, drawing them away from the damaged horizon. The immediate threat seemed to be diminishing, but Naira remained unresponsive on the deck. Olivia placed her fingers against the alien's neck, searching for a pulse point, but found nothing comparable to human anatomy. The cool skin felt almost like fine leather beneath her fingertips, with subtle ridges that hadn't been visible to the eye. A noise from the corridor made her freeze. 2 Draxian soldiers appeared in the doorway, their weapons raised. The scaled aliens hissed when they spotted Naira on the floor. One barked orders in their harsh language and they advanced into the room. Olivia looked around desperately for a weapon. The engineering toolkit at her belt contained only basic tools, nothing that would be effective against armored soldiers. She backed away, trying to position herself between the approaching Draxians and the unconscious ambassador. The lead Draxian aimed his weapon at Olivia. The strange device hummed as it powered up, energy crackling around its muzzle. Olivia tensed, preparing to dive aside when a blur of motion caught her. Peripheral vision. Captain Harris appeared in the doorway, flanked by security officers. Their weapons fired in unison, dropping 1 Draxian immediately. The second invader turned to face the new threat, giving Olivia the opportunity she needed. She grabbed a heavy wrench from a nearby workstation and swung it with all her strength at the back of the Draxian's head. The alien staggered forward, disoriented long enough for the security team to take him down. "Bennett's status report," the captain demanded, striding into the room. Her uniform was torn and scorched, evidence that she had been in the thick of the fighting engine room secure. She said, "But the ambassador needs immediate medical attention. She did something psionic, I think, to help repel the boarding parties and contact her people." The captain nodded. "Medical team is on the way. The Etheri vessels are engaging the Draxians, giving us time to make repairs and treat casualties." She looked down at Naira with an unreadable expression. "Did she complete her transmission?" "Yes," Olivia confirmed. "But Captain, what is this really about?" "The Draxians specifically targeted her, not our ship." "This is not the time or place for that discussion," Bennett Harris replied, her voice stern. The medics arrived. With a specialized stretcher designed for non-human physiology, they carefully transferred Naira onto it and rushed her toward sickbay. Olivia wanted to follow, concerned for the alien who had saved her life in the ship, but the captain placed a restraining hand on her arm. "Engineering needs you, Bennett. The chief was injured in the initial attack. We need the warp drive back online as soon as possible." Reluctantly, Olivia returned to her duties. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of emergency repairs, jury-rigged systems, and desperate workarounds to get the Horizon functioning again. The Draxian attack had caused significant damage to multiple systems. The medical bay reported 17 casualties, including 3 fatalities. Olivia worked until her fingers bled, ignoring her own exhaustion and hunger. When she finally had a moment to breathe, she asked about Naira. The medical staff would only say that the ambassador was in stable condition but still unconscious. Olivia tried to visit, but was turned away by security personnel posted at the entrance to the private treatment room. After her shift ended, Olivia returned to her quarters, hoping for a few hours of sleep before returning to the ongoing repair efforts. The cabin seemed strangely empty without Naira's presence. The alien's few possessions remained untouched, including the mysterious metallic container she had brought aboard. Olivia stared at the container, wondering what it contained. Naira had said the stellar key was knowledge, not an object, but perhaps this held information storage devices or communication equipment. Despite her curiosity, Olivia respected the ambassador's privacy. She showered, changed into clean clothes, and collapsed onto her bed, falling into an exhausted sleep almost instantly. She dreamed of stars swirling in impossible patterns and strange voices speaking in languages she couldn't understand. Yet somehow, in the dream logic, she comprehended their meaning. They spoke of ancient civilizations that had seeded the galaxy with technology beyond current understanding. Weapons capable of destroying stars, devices that could fold space and time, energy sources that would never deplete. Olivia woke with a gasp, sitting upright in bed. Her quarters were dark, but she could make out a figure standing by the viewport. The slender silhouette was unmistakable. "Naira," she said in surprise, "you're awake. Should you be out of sickbay?" The Etheri turned slowly. The familiar purple glow had returned to her skin, though fainter than before. "I discharged myself against your doctor's recommendation," she admitted. "My recovery requires specific meditation techniques not available in your medical facilities." Olivia switched on the lights, revealing the ambassador. More clearly, Naira looked diminished somehow. Her normally perfect posture slightly stooped, her movements less fluid than before, but her large eyes remained alert and intense. "You helped save this vessel," Naira said simply. "I owe you my gratitude." Olivia shook her head. "No, you saved us. The reactor would have breached without your assistance, and you somehow contacted your people when communications were down." "A simple psionic projection," Naira replied dismissively. "My people were already nearby monitoring the situation. When they received my signal, they moved to intercept the Draxian vessels." Olivia had so many questions she hardly knew where to begin. The captain had avoided her inquiries, and the rest of the crew seemed equally uninformed about the true nature of their mission. "Why are the Draxians hunting you?" she finally asked. "What is this stellar key that they want so badly?" Naira was silent for a long moment, her gaze returning to the stars outside the viewport. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and melodic. 10,000 years ago, a civilization known as the predecessors dominated this galaxy. Their technology was so advanced it appeared as magic to lesser species. They could reshape planets, create artificial stars, and travel between galaxies with ease. Then suddenly they vanished, leaving only scattered remnants of their civilization behind. Olivia listened, fascinated by the tale, though uncertain of its relevance. The Aetheri have always been keepers of knowledge. Naira continued. We discovered coordinates to a hidden predecessor vault containing technologies they deemed too dangerous to leave unsecured. The stellar key is the activation sequence to access this vault. My people decided the knowledge should be shared among the coalition species rather than kept to ourselves. This decision has made us targets. Why share it? Olivia asked. If it's so dangerous, why not leave it locked away? Naira turned to face her fully, the patterns on her skin shifting into new configurations that seemed to express emotion in ways Olivia couldn't quite interpret. The Draxians have located other predecessor artifacts. They grow stronger each cycle. Their expansionist philosophy, coupled with such power, would eventually threaten all other species. The coalition needs access to equivalent technology to maintain balance. It sounded reasonable, yet Olivia sensed there was more to the story than Naira was revealing. Something personal. Perhaps. She studied the alien with new eyes, seeing not just the strange beauty of her form but the burden she carried. So the Horizon was transporting you to a secure facility where you could share this activation sequence with coalition scientists. Olivia guessed. Naira inclined her head in affirmation. The attack was not unexpected, though its ferocity surpassed our predictions. The Draxians must have informants within your government. She hesitated before adding, your captain was one of only 3 humans who knew the true purpose of my presence. Here Olivia processed this information, feeling a complex mix of emotions. The secrecy was understandable given the stakes, but she disliked being kept in the dark, especially when it placed the entire crew in danger. Yet she couldn't deny the importance of the mission, if Naira's account was accurate. Are we still heading to the secure facility? She asked. Yes, the ambassador confirmed, though our arrival will be delayed by the necessary repairs. Your engineering teams have performed admirably under difficult circumstances. Olivia felt unexpected pride at the compliment. She was about to respond when the ship suddenly lurched beneath them. The familiar sensation of dropping out of warp was followed by warning klaxons. The captain's voice came over the comm. System all hands to battle stations. Draxian fleet detected on approach vectors. This is not a drill. Naira straightened her posture, her skin brightening with renewed energy. They are persistent, she observed. I had hoped the engagement with my people's vessels would discourage further attempts. Olivia was already pulling on her uniform, preparing to return to engineering. We need to get you to a secure location, she told the ambassador. The Draxians will certainly board us again if they can. I will not hide, Naira replied. Her voice had taken on the same resonant quality Olivia had heard during the previous attack. This time, I am prepared. Captain Harris led them through the ship's corridors at a rapid pace. Crew members rushed past, heading to battle stations. The captain's expression remained stony as she guided them to a rarely used section near the center of the vessel. The Draxians have brought a fleet this time, Harris explained as they walked 5 capital ships and numerous smaller vessels. Our long-range sensors detected them too late for us to alter course. They must have been waiting in the asteroid field. How did they know where to find us? Olivia asked, struggling to keep pace with the captain's longer strides. We have a traitor aboard, Naira stated. Her tone was matter-of-fact, but her skin patterns had shifted to a configuration that somehow conveyed anger. The knowledge of our route was highly restricted. Harris nodded grimly. Intelligence is working to identify the spy, but right now our priority is getting you two to the emergency shuttle. Olivia halted mid-stride me. Why am I part of this? The captain turned to face her. Because Ambassador Naira specifically requested you, Bennett. She believes your skills will be necessary for the final phase of the mission. Olivia looked at Naira in surprise. The alien met her gaze steadily. You have proven yourself capable. Under extreme pressure, she said, Your engineering expertise may be vital in accessing the vault systems. They reached a section of the ship Olivia had never visited before. Despite her years aboard the Horizon, the captain placed her hand on a scanner, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a small hangar containing a sleek shuttle, unlike the standard Alliance design. This vessel has been modified with Etheri technology, Harris explained. It has enhanced shields and a cloaking device that should mask your signature from Draxian sensors. The navigational system is pre-programmed with coordinates to a fallback rendezvous point. You'll meet with a coalition science team there. The ship shuddered as the first enemy weapons made contact, Captain. Harris stumbled slightly but quickly regained her balance. We don't have much time, she said. The shuttle is stocked with supplies and emergency equipment. You need to launch immediately. Olivia felt overwhelmed by the rapid developments. I haven't agreed to this mission, she protested. My duty is to this ship, especially during battle. Harris placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Engineer Bennett, I am giving you a direct order. This mission takes priority over the Horizon. If the Draxians obtain the Stellar, key millions of lives across dozens of systems will be at risk. Before Olivia could respond further, Naira spoke. Her voice carried that strange resonating quality that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind. The Horizon will survive. This encounter, Engineer Bennett, I have foreseen it. But only if we depart now. Something in the alien's tone convinced Olivia more than the captain's orders. She nodded reluctantly. Fine. But I want a full briefing. Once we're underway, Harris quickly guided them through the pre-flight procedures. The specialized shuttle required only minimal input as most systems were automated. The captain paused before sealing the hatch. The rendezvous coordinates will take you to Europa Station in the Sol system, she explained. A coalition science team will meet you there. Take no unnecessary risks and trust no one outside the designated contacts. She handed Olivia a small data chip. This contains identification codes for the secure facility. Keep it safe. The captain stepped back as the shuttle door sealed. With practiced efficiency, Olivia took the pilot's seat while Naira settled beside her in the co-pilot's position. The alien seemed to intuitively understand the hybrid control systems, her slender fingers moving across the console with confidence. The hangar bay doors opened, revealing the chaotic space battle beyond, multiple Draxian vessels engaged with the Horizon, their energy weapons creating brilliant flashes against the shields. The massive Alliance ship returned fire, its phaser arrays cutting through the darkness of space. Olivia activated the shuttle's engines, guiding it smoothly out of the bay. As soon as they cleared the Horizon, Naira engaged the cloaking device. A shimmer passed over the viewports as the technology rendered them virtually invisible to conventional sensors. They accelerated away from the battle. Olivia, watching the tactical display carefully to avoid collision with debris or vessels, neither spoke as they navigated the dangerous zone, each focused on their respective tasks. The shuttle responded beautifully to the controls, its enhanced engines providing speed and maneuverability far beyond standard Alliance craft. Once they had put sufficient distance between themselves and the conflict, Olivia engaged the automated navigation system. The shuttle adjusted course, heading toward the coordinates Captain Harris had provided. Now, Olivia said, turning to face the ambassador, I want that briefing. What exactly are we doing, and why am I really here? Naira studied her for a long moment, the patterns on her skin shifting through several configurations before settling into a steady, pulsing rhythm. The stellar key is not merely coordinates and access codes, she finally explained. It is a biological imprint stored within my cellular structure. Olivia frowned, not understanding. What do you mean biological? The predecessors used organic technology for their most sensitive systems. Naira continued. They encoded the activation sequence into a specific genetic pattern, one that has been passed down through my ancestral line for millennia. My presence is required to access the vault, but the process is complex and potentially dangerous, and my role in this. Olivia pressed. The vault systems will need to be stabilized once activated, Naira said. Your engineering skills, particularly your ability to quickly analyze and adapt to unknown technology, will be essential. The last attempt to access a predecessor Fault resulted in a catastrophic energy cascade that destroyed an entire Aetheri research team. Great, Olivia muttered. So we're heading to an ancient alien vault that might explode when we try to open it, while being hunted by hostile aliens who want whatever is inside. Anything else I should know? Naira tilted her head in that characteristic gesture that Olivia had come to recognize as contemplation. The technology within the vault could shift the balance of power throughout known space. She said if misused, it could destroy entire star systems. But it could also provide clean energy, sustainable terraforming, and faster-than-light communication across unlimited distances. The potential benefits outweigh the risks. The shuttle continued on its automated course as they spoke. The stars streaked past as they traveled at high warp. Occasionally, Olivia checked the sensors, but there was no sign of pursuit. The Aetheri cloaking technology appeared to be working. After several hours of travel, fatigue began to set in. Olivia had been awake for nearly 30 hours straight between her regular shift, the Draxian attack, and the emergency repairs. She fought to keep her eyes open but found herself nodding off at the controls. "You should rest," Naira said, noticing her struggle. "I will monitor our course." Olivia wanted to protest, but exhaustion was clouding her judgment. She reluctantly agreed, moving to the small sleeping compartment at the rear of the shuttle. She stretched out on the narrow bunk, not bothering to remove her uniform, and was asleep almost instantly. Her dreams were strange, filled with images of ancient structures pulsing with organic energy and stars that sang in harmonic frequencies. She saw massive ships shaped like crystalline structures navigating between galaxies and planets, transformed from barren rocks to lush paradises in the span of days. Throughout it all, Naira stood beside her, not as she appeared now, but glowing with intense power. Her form barely contained within physical boundaries. Olivia woke with a start, unsure how long she had slept. The shuttle was still in flight, the gentle hum of the engines providing a soothing background noise. She made her way back to the cockpit where Naira remained. At the controls, her purple skin seemed brighter now, more vibrant than before. "Did you put those images in my head?" Olivia asked without preamble. The dreams about ancient technology and transformed worlds. Naira turned to face her. "I shared memories," she admitted. "Not my own, but ancestral knowledge passed down through generations. I thought it might help you understand what we seek." Olivia should have been angry at the invasion of her mind, but found herself more curious than upset. The images had been beautiful, awe-inspiring rather than frightening. "How much longer until we reach the rendezvous point?" she asked, checking the navigational display. "Approximately 6 hours, Naira replied. "We have altered course 3 times to avoid detection. I believe we have successfully evaded pursuit." Olivia nodded, settling into the pilot's seat. She ran a diagnostic on the shuttle's systems, confirming that everything functioned normally. The technology was impressively advanced yet intuitive to use. She wondered how much of the design was Aetherian origin as they traveled. Naira began to explain more about her people and their history. The Aetheri had evolved on a world with intense radiation that had accelerated their development of psionic abilities. They had achieved spaceflight thousands of years before humans had even developed writing. Their civilization valued knowledge above all else, collecting and preserving information from across the galaxy. The predecessors were already ancient. "When my ancestors first ventured beyond our home system," Naira explained, "they saw potential in us and shared some of their lesser technologies, but warned of the responsibility such power carried. They disappeared shortly after leaving behind vaults of knowledge scattered throughout the galaxy. Some contained beneficial technology, others held weapons of unimaginable destruction." Olivia reprogrammed the navigation system, setting a course for Proxima Centauri. The shuttle responded immediately, adjusting its trajectory and increasing speed. The small craft hummed with power as it pushed its advanced engines to maximum capacity. "The Draxians have set up a detection grid around Sol. They might have done the same at Proxima," Olivia said, checking the tactical sensors for any sign of pursuit. "We need a plan for when we arrive." Naira nodded, her expression thoughtful. "The shuttle has enough power for one emergency warp jump after we arrive," she said. "If we encounter resistance, we can use it to reach the surface quickly before they can react." As they traveled, Olivia took inventory of their supplies. The shuttle was well equipped. With survival gear, communication devices, and emergency rations, Captain Harris had prepared them for potential complications, though probably not for a direct approach to the vault. The journey to Proxima Centauri took nearly 14 hours even. With the enhanced warp drive, Olivia and Naira took turns resting, though the Aetheri required significantly less downtime than her human companion. They spoke little, both aware of the gravity of their mission and the dangers that awaited them as they approached the Proxima system. Naira grew visibly tense, her skin pattern shifting more rapidly than usual. Her normally fluid movements became precise, almost mechanical. Olivia recognized the signs of stress even in an alien physiology. "Are you all right?" she asked as they dropped out of warp at the edge of the system. "The vault calls to me," Naira replied, her voice distant. The genetic imprint responds to proximity. "It is uncomfortable." Olivia checked the sensors, scanning the system for any sign of Draxian vessels. The initial readings showed no artificial structures or energy signatures beyond the expected natural phenomena. The red dwarf star cast a dim, ruddy light over its planetary companions, including their destination, a rocky world on the inner edge of the habitable zone. No signs of Draxian presence, she reported cautiously, but they could be using cloaking technology. "We must proceed with caution," Naira agreed. Her hands moved across the control panel, activating additional scanning protocols. The shuttle's sensors, enhanced by Aetheri technology, probed deeper into the system. They approached Proxima Centauri. "Be maintaining the shuttle's cloak." The planet grew larger in their view screen, a rusty brown world with thin, wispy clouds and small ice caps at the poles. According to the scanners, the atmosphere was thin but breathable with higher oxygen levels than Earth. There, Naira suddenly said, pointing to a region near the equator. A faint energy signature, unlike anything else on the planet. Olivia enhanced the scan, focusing on the coordinates Naira had indicated. The readings were unusual, showing materials and energy patterns that didn't match known Alliance or Aetheri technology. "The vault entrance?" she asked Naira. Nodded. "The surface structure is merely a gateway. The actual repository extends deep beneath the planet's crust." They began their descent through the thin atmosphere, the shuttle handling the transition smoothly. As they approached the surface, Olivia could make out a landscape of rust-colored plains and jagged mountains. The area Naira had identified appeared unremarkable. A flat plain surrounded by low hills. "Sensors detect a structure beneath the surface," Olivia reported. "But there's no visible entrance. It will reveal itself to the key," Naira said. Her skin was now glowing brightly, the patterns moving in synchronized waves across her body. "The shuttle has served its purpose. We must proceed on foot." They landed the craft in a shallow valley. Approximately 1 kilometer from the coordinates, Olivia programmed the shuttle systems to maintain cloak and standby mode, ready for emergency departure if needed. Then she helped Naira gather the essential equipment they would need: environmental suits, emergency rations, and basic tools. The gravity on Proxima Centauri B was slightly higher than Earth standard, making movement more difficult. Olivia felt the additional weight with each step as they made their way across the barren landscape. The thin atmosphere necessitated breathing assistance, though not full environmental suits. The temperature was cold but manageable with their insulated clothing. Naira led the way, moving with purpose despite the challenging conditions. Her skin glowed, visibly even through her protective gear, providing illumination as the red sun began to set, casting long shadows across the alien terrain. As they approached the coordinates, the ground beneath their feet subtly changed texture, becoming smoother, more uniform. "This is not natural stone," Olivia observed, kneeling to examine the surface. "It appears similar to concrete, but with a crystalline structure. The predecessors created this entire region." Naira explained, their technology often blended with the natural environment, becoming indistinguishable over time. They reached the exact coordinates, a perfectly flat circular area approximately 50 meters in diameter. Nothing marked it as special or different from the surrounding landscape. Yet, Olivia felt a strange sensation like static electricity raising the hair on her arms. Naira removed her gloves, exposing her purple skin to the cold air. She knelt, placing both palms flat against the ground, Her eyes closed in concentration and her skin began to pulse with intense light, the patterns flowing down her arms and into the ground beneath them. For several moments, nothing happened. Then a faint humming sound rose from beneath them. The ground trembled slightly and circular patterns of light appeared spreading outward from Naira's hands. The light matched the purple glow of her skin, creating intricate geometrical designs across the entire area. "Stand back," Naira warned, her voice strained. Olivia retreated several steps, watching in amazement as the center of the circle began to sink downward, creating a spiral staircase that descended into darkness. The steps emitted the same purple light, making them clearly visible despite the growing shadows of evening. "We must hurry," Naira said, rising to her feet. "The entrance will remain open only while I am present." They descended the staircase, which spiraled deep into the planet. The air grew warmer as they went deeper, and Olivia noticed they no longer needed breathing assistance. The walls surrounding the staircase were smooth and featureless, glowing with a soft ambient light that seemed to come from within the material itself. After descending what felt like hundreds of meters, they reached a large chamber. The ceiling arched, high above them, supported by columns that resembled trees with crystalline branches. The floor was inlaid with patterns similar to those on Naira's skin, constantly shifting and flowing as if alive. "This is merely the antechamber," Naira explained. Her voice echoed slightly in the vast space. "The repository lies beyond." At the far end of the chamber stood a doorway shaped like an elongated hexagon. No visible controls or handles marked its smooth surface. Naira approached it confidently, placing her hand against the center. The door responded immediately, glowing with the same purple light that emanated from her skin. A series of symbols appeared on the surface, flowing and changing too quickly for Olivia to follow. Naira responded by tracing patterns with her fingers, creating new symbols that interlocked with the existing ones. It appeared to be some form of communication or code sequence. "The final verification," Naira explained as she worked. "The vault is confirming my genetic signature and testing my knowledge of predecessor protocols." Suddenly a harsh sound echoed through the chamber, a warning klaxon that seemed to come from all directions at once. Red light pulsed through the previously serene space, and the symbols on the door began flashing rapidly. "What happened?" Olivia asked, alarmed. "Security protocols," Naira replied, her voice tense. "The vault has detected another presence." Before Olivia could respond, a familiar hum filled the air, the sound of Draxian transporter technology. They had been followed after all. 3 Draxian soldiers materialized in the chamber, their scaled bodies encased in combat armor, their weapons immediately trained on the 2 females. "Surrender the key," one of them demanded in heavily accented Alliance standard. The Draxian commander stepped forward, his elongated head adorned with ceremonial ridges marking his high rank. "How did you find us?" Olivia asked, trying to buy time while she assessed their options. "Your shuttle was easy to track once we knew what to look for," the commander replied. "We have been monitoring the system since discovering the vault's location in Etheri communications." Naira stepped forward, her posture straight and dignified. "You cannot access the vault without me," she said. "The genetic key is encoded in my cellular structure. Harm me and you lose everything." The Draxian commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "We have studied predecessor technology for decades. We know the key can be extracted from your living tissue." He gestured to one of his soldiers, who produced a device resembling a medical scanner. "Our scientists are quite skilled at such procedures." Olivia tensed, preparing to fight. Despite the hopelessness of their situation, they were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped deep underground. The Draxians would kill her without hesitation. Once they had Naira, suddenly Naira began to glow intensely, brighter than Olivia had ever seen. The patterns on her skin accelerated, moving so quickly they became almost invisible. The air around her seemed to distort as if heated. The vault recognizes true intent, the alien ambassador said, her voice taking on that resonant quality that seemed to bypass normal hearing. The predecessors built safeguards against misuse. The door behind her began to pulse in rhythm with her skin, the symbols flowing more rapidly. The Draxians raised their weapons, but hesitated, uncertain what was happening.